Well, you're not back home as such, Jack, because, of course, you were born in the South Island, but good to be back in New Zealand, I'm picking.
Yeah, that's right, Greg. It's really good to be home as such in New Zealand, and albeit the North Island. But no, it's good to see a few familiar faces, and yeah, really, really happy to be here.
Let's talk about where it all started for you, because Forbury Park was basically your introduction. Your dad, Daryl's, trained nearly 20 winners, having a look back through the records. Even one of them you drove, I think it was Lady Brownhouse, to win a race for him. How did it all begin, and where did the passion come from, harness racing? Through your mum and dad?
Yeah, definitely. I can remember from as long as I can remember going to all the Southland race meetings with mum and dad to either watch their horses, or they were obviously just racing enthusiasts too, and just like going to the races as a social day out. So from there, I sort of started to helping out a few trainers and drivers and that at race meetings, and just loved every bit of it. I just loved the horse, and right from being a young fella, I just knew I wanted to be a part of the sport in some way. And probably wasn't until I run into Dexter when I was at Forbury Park and started helping him when he brought Cran's horses down, when he was just starting to take off in New Zealand, that I really thought, this is what I want to do. And I sort of looked up to Dexter like a bit of an idol. And yeah, from there, he asked me if I'd like to come to Crandell Geddes in my school holidays. I was only 14 years old at the time. And every school holidays, and even probably some days I should have been at school, I found myself up in Christchurch at Crans and just loved every bit of it and just fully caught the bug from there. So, yeah, that's where it all began.
So you get your opportunity at Kentuckiana. The irony is you're going head-to-head with the old boss on Thursday night, but the first year of Jack, and you picked up about 10 wins. How much did you model yourself on Dexter? Because I can remember you often walking around in colours and thinking, there's Junior Dexter. Is that how it sort of felt?
Yeah, it was for sure. And obviously I was just so lucky to have Dex as an idol and such a good mate. And yeah, it's just one of those things, people used to give me a bit of slack in that for wanted to be like Dexter, and I might have taken it a step too far occasionally, but who better to base yourself off or model yourself off than the ultimate professional and such a top driver in Dexter himself. And like everyone says, you're always meant to look at the best people and learn off the best, and in my opinion he is the best, and he just gave me such a good boost and so many good pointers, and which probably up until the last few years, obviously I had to mature and learn the ropes myself as well. But over the last couple of years, I still find myself thinking of things that either Dexter or Cran have taught me so many years ago, and now they're coming into play and becoming helpful for me.
So, Jack, where did Sydney come about? How did that all sort of unfold, and where you're based now at Menangle? When are we talking about in your career? Cran's for about 5 years?
Yeah, it would have been probably just short of 5 years. I think I moved over to Australia when I was 19, and I went and worked for Shane Tritton, who was in the Newcastle area, which is a couple of hours away from Menangle, or 2.5 hours from Menangle. And it was more, the Sydney move was more when I become mates with Todd McCarthy, and I was trying to get up there every weekend to be able to go out and Yahoo with the boys on the weekend. And he sort of said to me, well, why don't you make the move up here, and he'll try and get me some drives. And I ended up going to Kevin Pizzuto's for 6 months, where he really helped me get on board in the Menangle and Sydney style racing. Obviously, he had a big team of New Zealand horses at the time that were obviously there was a lot of power in that stable, which really helped me as a driver get my name out there in Sydney. And from there, obviously, I went to Blake Fitzpatrick's, who I was there for about 5 years, which I loved being at Blake's. It was much like Cran's. You had that sort of family feel about it. And like I've said before, it didn't really feel like you were working a job. It was just, you jump out of bed in the morning, have a day full of laughs. And again, like Cran as well, I learned so much off Blake, who's such a good driver and trainer in Australia. And I think he really helped me sort of go to the next level with driving, especially over in Australia.
It's pretty competitive over there. I think your best season finished 4th with over 130 wins. This year hasn't been as fruitful in terms of driving wins, but is that more reflective of your move into the training ranks? And I can't believe the stats that you're producing there, because you're actually leading the state premiership ahead of Kerry-Ann Morris Is that part of the Jack Trainor plan to develop more as a trainer now?
Yeah, it definitely is, Greg. It's sort of just gone that way. I obviously don't do as much freelance driving as I'd used to, where I used to be keen and get to all the meetings and all the late nights and, a lot of travel. I just found that with the training, especially having some of the better horses now, you just need to be there at your stable doing the 1%. And obviously I like to be hands-on with my team, and I've also got a junior driver now, Hoop, too, so I like to be able to send him away with a couple of horses, and he's getting experience from it. And it also means I have an afternoon at the barn to tinker around with my horses or gear, or, there's always just something to do. So I've definitely probably gone down that avenue now where I probably don't chase the drives as much as I would have used to in the last couple of years. And I just really like spending time on my horses and being able to be there and make sure everything's running smoothly.
Jack, how many you got him work?
I've got 25 at the moment, so it's the biggest number that I've had, and obviously just really lucky. I've got a really good team behind me. I've got some really good staff, and like I said, I've got a really good young junior driver who's making his way through the ranks too. So it enables me to be able to take a week off from them to travel with Stylish Memphis, or go to a Queensland or a Melbourne carnival, and knowing that everything's getting done at home properly, and the results are still coming while I'm away, which is obviously a major, major thing to be able to entrust other people with your team while you're away. And I'm very fortunate that I've got that.
Tell me about Stylish Memphis and how high your admiration is for her.
Yeah, well, I love her. She's obviously she's the favourite horse in the barn, and she's just done so much for my career as far as training and driving. And obviously that's a credit to Mark Jones and Wayne Higgs for entrusting me with her so early on. When she first came to me, I'd only been training for less than 6 months, and next thing she eventually started favourite in a ladyship mile under your care. So it was obviously really good of them to entrust me with her. And I just think having a horse like her, obviously in such good races, and then obviously being able to get the job done, it's probably just put my training career forward 3 to 5 years from where I would have thought I would have been. And in turn, people seeing a horse like her under my care doing a good job, and those people trusting me with her have then felt, well, if he's good enough for her, he's good enough for us. And it's just worked like a snowball effect, and it pretty much does all come down from just getting such a good mare so early on.
So she's been the catalyst to your training career in many ways, or certainly advancing it.
Yeah, she has. And even too, Greg, I've just learned so much having her, obviously, and just the different sort of pressure and expectation that you've got to have these horses if you're competing at a Group 1 level. And obviously I was lucky enough to travel with a lot of Cran's horses, better horses when I was young, but it was a different case where you were just doing as you were told, and you didn't have to do all the thinking and the nitty-gritty stuff. So I'm still learning with her, but she's just taught me so much, and just brought my career so forward so quick. And like I said, I just can't thank Mark and Wayne enough for entrusting me with her.
Okay, $900,000 race comes up on the radar, and they just here. That excites you, I know. How she travelled across and how she settled in at Zinny's place.
Yeah, it's very exciting, obviously. And again, when I heard that there was talk of her coming, I thought, oh, that's good. I'll be able to send her over and watch her from the other side of Tasman. But for me being able to come with her and be a part of this, it's it's something that really does excite me, and I'm really privileged to be in this position. And she settled in great at Zinny's. Obviously, it's like her third home. She's always, anytime she's come to me, she's been at Zinny's before she's come, or any racing in Auckland over a previous year, she stayed there. And Zinny's just a top fella, and he's happy to lend the helping hand. And she settled in perfect, as I expected she would. And we just can't wait to be a part of it.
What about her build-up? Yep, she's won her second ladyship, which was the Queen Elizabeth II, so another Group 1 performance. Her record at Menangle is remarkable. Is there anything you can put that down to, or is it more about the tempo of the races and how she loves to run hard off the back of that?
Yeah, I think so. I think it just comes down to the style of racing and that she is so good following speed and she can obviously peel off such a hot speed and every start at Menangle she gets at. So yeah, that's all I could really put it down to. She's always come over in great order and in good form, and I think she just enjoys that style of racing. So hopefully on Thursday night, it's more shades of Menangle style racing than the general Cambridge, and we can relish off that.
You've already mentioned in the media that people might be surprised by her ability to get off the gate because she's learnt that way in Australia. So you're confident she can hold her own inside of a flying Ultra Orlando, who we know leaves the machine, well, quicker than anybody in this field anyway.
Yeah, well, I'm hopeful more than confident, Greg, but I know that she can get out good, and the gate does go quicker at Menangle. So your average horse with average gate speed will find itself, struggling a bit at Menangle. But I just think that back to the New Zealand racing and the Cambridge track, I'd be very surprised if she couldn't hold her own, if not hold a forward spot. And yeah, I really do believe that people probably underestimate what the sort of speed she does have, especially with Alpha Orlando drawing right beside us and back to the 1,000-metre track. But it'd be fair to say if it was at Menangle, I'd have no chance. But luckily for me, we're not at Menangle, so we're going to give it a go.
Sitting in the trail or potentially 3 back on the fence, can she win?
Well, yeah, you got to be in it to win it, Greg. So yeah, she sure she can win, and she's as good as I can get her, and I just think if she gets the luck and the splits, which we're going to need, I know she'll follow any speed, and hopefully if we're one of them that aren't doing too much work early, and if some of the better runners have some bad luck, it brings us right into it. But yeah, she's definitely not a write-off by any means.
She's being considered an Australian. I think you're coming out with the Australian flag in front of you. How will that make you feel?
Yeah, I don't know about that. Nick told me about that yesterday. I think I'll be a New Zealand disgrace if I do that, but it's not up to me. If I had it my way, I'll be back in the New Zealand pack, but hopefully it's a case of first out and first home.
Yeah, definitely. All right, the horses that are around you, Ultra Orlando, you know very well. Tell us a bit more about Majestic Cruiser, because your good friend Jason Grimson, he's arriving in New Zealand today, being Wednesday, and you've been caretaker trainer for a few days. How's he handled the trip?
Yeah, he's much like Stylish Memphis. He's just settled in perfect. He's been around the block a few times now, Majestic Cruiser, so it's nothing for him, and both have drunk plenty and never left a note. So he looks super, and yeah, I'm excited for Jason to be able to be a part of this with me. It's something that we're both really proud of, and even for the likes of Jack Callaghan and Cameron Hart, I know talking about it before we come, win, lose or draw, we're all just proud of how far we've come in a short amount of time. And as far as Majestic Cruiser, he's really gone to another level at the moment, and the Inter-Dominion and Miracle Mile Carnival just seem to have turned him into the full package. He's not a one-trick pony. He's not just used for his speed anymore, as you would have seen his last start. And even with him, I expect him to be very dangerous if he gets a good split. And I don't think you can underestimate him at all, especially the form he's in at the moment.
Jack, just explain to me and to the people watching this how difficult what he did last time at Menangle is to do. He settled last, moved around the field and sat outside Ultra Orlando and beat him. At that level, that doesn't happen very often there.
No, it doesn't. Menangle now is one of those tracks that after a couple of 100 metres and you get your positions, you're generally trapped there. And just because of the speeds that they run off the front, that it's nearly impossible for a horse to make a move and then turn in and look at that 400 metre straight and carry on. So I know I was thinking I was in the race with Memphis, and I thought when Cam went, I thought, oh, great, that's him out of the road. I'll be over top. And he just kept coming and wore Alpha Orlando down. So it just shows what a good place that Majestic Cruiser's in. And and Cam Hart obviously too is one of the leading drivers the leading driver in New South Wales too. He's come ahead leaps and bounds as well. So I'm sure that he'll give Majestic Cruiser every possible chance.
Yeah, he's had a drive at Cambridge, as have you, but Jack Callahan hasn't. It's really added so much to this build up to the race. You guys have no fear, which is terrific, and I'm sure that it's going to play out that way once you head out onto the track too. Thanks so much for your time, mate. Thanks for all the media you've done so far. It's been enormous in the build up to the race with Grins, and all the very best to you and the connections. Barrett Holmes, who own the slot, of course, and Wayne Higgs going into this race. I know it's going to be a special night for you.
Yeah, great. Thanks very much, Greg. And like I said, I'm just really happy to be back and wish everyone all the best.